Police officers aren't just trained for the streets, they're trained for the courtroom. Their testimony is one of the strongest tools in prosecution, and over the years, their training has only become more refined. Between Wisconsin's 2005 and 2020 training manuals, we see how police have expanded their preparation for testifying, making them even harder to challenge in court. Today, I'll break down the courtroom tactics they use, how their training has evolved, and what this means for cross-examination and justice. The first rule for officers testifying in court is control. Control is what they say and how much they reveal. They're trained to give short, direct answers that prevent unnecessary exposure. They avoid speculation, sticking only to what they know rather than what they think. Their written reports become their shield, helping them stay consistent. And when a question gets tricky, they'll use "I don't recall," a convenient way to avoid committing to an answer that could later be challenged. Another key training focus is credibility. Officers are taught to project confidence, calm, professional, and unwavering in their statements. They use phrases like "standard procedure" or "based on my training and experience" to add weight to their testimony. Eye contact with a judge or jury? That's a deliberate tactic, making them appear more trustworthy. Over time, these techniques have only become more refined, making it difficult to challenge their credibility. If we compare Wisconsin's police training manuals from 2005 to 2020, we see an expansion in courtroom preparation. The 2005 version focused on basic testimony skills, how to answer direct and cross-examination questions, and maintain a professional demeanor. By 2020, training had grown significantly. Officers were now trained to prepare more thoroughly before trial, review their reports extensively, and even anticipate cross-examination traps. New emphasis was placed on avoiding verbal pitfalls and controlling their emotions when confronted with tough questions. This shift shows how police training has evolved to make their testimony stronger and more difficult to challenge. During cross-examination, officers are trained to avoid verbal traps. They resist yes or no questions that could box them in. Instead, they reframe questions to maintain control. If a question could expose a contradiction, they take their time, pausing before answering, ensuring they stay aligned with their prior statements. Another tactic is showing indignation, acting offended when confronted with accusations, shifting attention away from the content of the question and onto their supposed professionalism. Cops are also trained to avoid self-incrimination. If a question gets too close to exposing misconduct, they play dumb, claiming they don't remember or that it was someone else's decision. If caught in an inconsistency, They minimize it as a minor memory lapse. Meanwhile, they shape the narrative using loaded language, describing suspects as agitated or non-compliant, even if they were simply asking questions. They portray themselves as victims, emphasizing dangerous situations to justify their actions. The 2020 training manual reinforces these strategies, ensuring officers maintain control of their narrative under pressure. Police also take advantage of the court's natural bias in their favor. Judges often trust officers, and juries see them as authority figures. Training reinforces this, teaching officers to use legal buzzwords like reasonable suspicion or probable cause to justify their actions. Prosecutors also work with them, coaching their testimony before trial, structuring questions to guide their responses, and even ensuring consistency among multiple officers' testimonies. The 2020 training places even greater emphasis on preparation, ensuring officers are well versed in courtroom dynamics before ever stepping onto the witness stand. Over time, police courtroom testimony training has evolved, making officers more difficult to challenge. Their tactics allow them to control testimony, shape narratives, and avoid self-incrimination. The expansion of Wisconsin's training from 2005 to 2020 shows how police continue to refine their courtroom strategies. But these tactics aren't foolproof. Understanding them is the key to countering them. By exposing inconsistencies, asking precise questions, and using their own words against them, we can break through the illusion of credibility they work so hard to create. Thank you for listening. If you have any thoughts or questions, let's discuss how these strategies play out in real court cases and how we can challenge them effectively.